The flames consumed everything: his uniform, his skin, his faith in humanity. Officer Marcus Chen writhed on the blood-stained concrete as orange fire danced above his head like a twisted halo. The acrid smell of gasoline mixed with burning flesh filled the air as he screamed, arms raised to the indifferent sky. Around him, the crowd that had thrown the Molotov cocktail melted away into the shadows of the burning city, leaving him alone with his agony and the crackling sound of his own destruction. But this wasn't how it was supposed to end. 3 months earlier, Marcus Chen had been one of the most respected officers in the 14th Precinct. 3 months earlier? The morning sun cast long shadows across Riverside Avenue as Officer Marcus Chen adjusted his badge in the rearview mirror. 22 years on the force, and he still felt that same sense of purpose every time he put on the uniform. His coffee steamed in the cup holder as he watched the neighborhood slowly wake up. Marcus had grown up 3 blocks from here. When he'd joined the police force fresh out of college, his grandmother had pressed his hand between hers and whispered, "Make us proud, Mijo. Be the change you want to see." He'd tried to live by those words every day since. His radio crackled to life. "Unit 47, we have a domestic disturbance at 1247 Maple Street." Marcus sighed and reached for the handset. He knew that addressed the Rodriguez family. Maria worked double shifts at the hospital, while her husband Carlos struggled with unemployment and a growing drinking problem. When he arrived at the modest house, he could hear the shouting from the street. Maria opened the door, her left eye already beginning to swell. Behind her, Carlos swayed with a beer bottle in his hand and rage in his bloodshot eyes. "Everything okay here, Maria?" Marcus asked gently. "We're fine, Officer Chen," she lied, the same lie she'd told him twice before. Carlos pushed past her. "Why don't you mind your own business, cop?" Marcus spent an hour talking Carlos down, helping Maria with her bruises, and connecting the family with social services. He'd done this dance so many times, he could perform it in his sleep. It was noon when Marcus got the call that would change everything. All units, armed robbery in progress at First National Bank, corner of Oak and 3rd Street. Marcus was 6 blocks away. The bank came into view chaos, visible through the large windows. Through the glass, he could see a young man with a gun pointed at the teller, his movements jerky and panicked. Marcus was the first officer on scene. The suspect couldn't have been more than 19 high on something, probably meth. He entered through the side door, weapon drawn but lowered. The kid spun around, his gun wavering between Marcus and the teller. "Stay back. I'll kill everyone in here." Marcus raised his free hand peacefully. "What's your name, son?" "Don't call me that." The gun shook in the kid's hands, his eyes wild with dilated pupils. "I'm Marcus. What should I call you?" "I need money," the kid suddenly screamed. "My sister. She's sick. She needs insulin, and we don't have insurance." Marcus's heart clenched. Another victim of a system that left people choosing between poverty and desperation. "What's wrong with your sister?" "Diabetes. She needs insulin, but it costs $400 and she's going to die if—" "We can help with that," Marcus said gently. "There are programs, assistance funds." For a moment, the kid's gun hand wavered. Then reality crashed back in. "No, they told us that before. There's always forms and waiting lists, and by the time you get through their bureaucracy, people are already dead." The gun swung back toward the teller, and Marcus saw the kid's finger tighten on the trigger. In that split second, Marcus made a decision that would haunt him forever. He could have shot the kid, should have, according to protocol. It would have been a clean shoot, justified by every metric. Instead, Marcus lunged forward, trying to tackle the kid and disarm him peacefully. The gun went off. The bullet meant for the teller struck Sarah Morrison, age 7, who had been hiding behind her mother. It tore through her small chest and lodged in her heart. She died before the ambulance arrived, her blood pooling on the marble floor while her mother screamed. Marcus held the little girl as her life ebbed away, her blood soaking through his uniform. Her mother's anguished wails echoed off the bank walls, a sound that would replay in his nightmares. The investigation found that Marcus had acted within his authority. The kid David Brennan was charged with armed robbery and involuntary manslaughter, but the community saw it differently. 2 months before the fire, The first protest was small, maybe 30 people outside the police station with signs reading "Justice for Sarah" and "Cops Kill Kids." The video had gone viral. Someone in the bank had filmed everything on their phone, showing Marcus tackling the suspect instead of shooting him. Social media exploded with outrage. Sarah Morrison began trending nationally. Cable news picked up the story, with pundits debating police tactics, while Sarah's school photo appeared on screen as smiling 7-year-old with pigtails and missing front teeth. The protests grew larger each week. Hundreds, then thousands. The chant changed from "Justice for Sarah" to "Killer Cop." Marcus's photo appeared on wanted posters around the city. His captain called him in 6 weeks after the incident. "I'm recommending you for administrative leave," Rodriguez said. "The heat's getting too intense." "I was doing my job," Marcus said quietly. "Perception is reality in this business. And right now, you're a liability." At home, his wife Elena tried to maintain normalcy, but the stress was showing. Their house had been vandalized twice. Their phone number was doxed online. Their kids were harassed at school. "Maybe we should move," Elena suggested one evening. "This is our home," Marcus replied, though his voice lacked conviction. Marcus started drinking. Not heavily at first, but as weeks dragged on and isolation deepened, beer became whiskey, and one drink became several. Elena watched with growing concern as her husband slowly disappeared into a bottle. The night of the fire. 3 months later, the grand jury declined to indict Marcus for criminal charges. The announcement triggered the largest protest the city had seen in decades. Buildings burned, the National Guard was called in, and riots continued for 3 days. Marcus remained on administrative leave, existing in bureaucratic limbo. The department couldn't fire him without cause, but they couldn't put him back on the streets either. Elena moved out the week before his return to duty, taking their children to stay with her sister until Marcus got his act together. The call came on a Tuesday evening in late October, a domestic disturbance at 1247 Maple Street, the same address where this had all begun. When Marcus arrived, the scene was familiar but worse. Carlos was throwing dishes while Maria cowered in the corner with her children. 3 months of unemployment had pushed Carlos past his breaking point. Marcus knocked, and the violence stopped. When Maria answered, her face was a map of fresh bruises. Carlos appeared behind her, more drunk than Marcus had ever seen him. "You, the cop who kills kids." "I'm here to help, Carlos." "Same as always." "Help? You help by getting children killed." Carlos stumbled onto the front porch, clutching an empty bottle. In the streetlight, Marcus could see how far the man had fallen, clothes stained and torn, face gaunt, eyes hollow with despair. "You know what's funny?" Carlos said, swaying. "I used to respect you. Used to think you were different." "I still understand," Marcus said. "No, you don't. If you understood, you would have shot that junkie instead of letting him kill Sarah Morrison." Behind Carlos, Maria quietly slipped out the back door with her children. "I made a mistake," Marcus admitted. "I'll live with it for the rest of my life." "You'll live with it? What about Sarah Morrison? What about her mother?" Carlos raised the bottle above his head. "You want to do better? Then quit." The bottle came down toward Marcus's head. He could have dodged it easily, could have drawn his weapon, could have tackled Carlos. Instead, Marcus stood still and let the bottle strike him. Glass exploded against his skull, opening a gash above his left eye. Blood streamed down his face as Carlos stared in shock. "Jesus, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." "Yes, you did," Marcus said quietly. "And you were right to." The words broke something inside Carlos. He dropped the bottle and began to sob. Marcus was calling for an ambulance when the crowd began to gather. Word spread quickly through social media. The cop who killed Sarah Morrison was back on duty and had just been attacked. Within an hour, hundreds of people filled Maple Street. They came from all over the city, activists and grieving parents, people who had lost faith in the system. Marcus should have called for backup, should have retreated to his patrol car. Instead, he stood on the front porch, blood drying on his face, and faced the crowd. "Killer cop," someone shouted. "Justice for Sarah." Marcus raised his hands for silence, and surprisingly, the crowd quieted. "I know you're angry," Marcus began. "I know you think I failed Sarah Morrison and her family." "You did fail her," a woman screamed. "She's dead because of you." "Yes," Marcus said simply. "She is." The admission caught the crowd off guard. They had expected denials, not honesty. "I've been a police officer for 22 years. I became a cop because I believed in justice. I believed I could make a difference. I was wrong." News vans arrived at the perimeter, satellite dishes extending into the night sky. "The system is broken," Marcus continued. "We live in a country where a 19-year-old has to rob a bank to buy insulin for his sister. Where good men like Carlos lose their dignity and take out their rage on those they love. Where a 7-year-old dies because I made the wrong choice." Someone threw a bottle. It shattered against the porch railing. Marcus didn't flinch. "I can't bring Sarah back. I can't undo the pain I've caused. I can't fix a system designed to fail people like David Brennan and Sarah Morrison." More objects flew from the crowd: bottles, rocks, concrete. Marcus stood accepting each blow as penance. "So, what are you going to do?" someone shouted. "Quit? Run away?" Marcus looked out at the sea of angry faces, illuminated by streetlights and smartphone cameras. These were his neighbors, people he'd tried to serve for more than 2 decades. Now they saw him as an enemy. "I don't know," he said honestly. "I don't know how to fix any of this." That was when someone threw the Molotov cocktail. Marcus saw it arcing through the air like a falling star, the burning rag trailing smoke. He had 2 seconds to dive for cover, to save himself from the flames. He didn't move. The bottle exploded against his chest, coating him in gasoline and fire. The flames erupted around him, consuming his uniform, his skin, his hair. The pain was indescribable, white-hot agony burning through every nerve. Marcus fell to his knees as the fire spread, his screams lost in the roar of flames. Through the wall of pain, he could hear the crowd's reaction, some cheering, some screaming in horror. As the fire consumed him, Marcus thought about Sarah Morrison. He wondered if she had felt pain when the bullet tore through her chest. He hoped it had been quick. The flames reached his face, and his vision began to fade. But even as consciousness slipped away, he could hear sirens in the distance, fire trucks racing to save him, just as he had once raced to save others. He thought about Elena and their children, about the family he had lost. He thought about Carlos Rodriguez, probably watching in horror. He thought about David Brennan, sitting in prison, serving time for a crime that had destroyed more lives than just Sarah's. And as darkness closed in, Marcus Chen realized that real justice, was impossible. There was no balance that could be struck, no punishment that could restore what had been lost. There was only the fire, and the screaming, and the terrible knowledge that some mistakes echo through generations. The last thing Marcus saw was a news camera, broadcasting his immolation to the world, another viral video in the endless stream of violence that had consumed his city. Justice, he realized as the fire consumed him, was not blind. It was simply hungry, devouring everyone without regard for guilt or innocence, intention or accident. In the end, they all burned the same. Officer Marcus Chen died 3 hours later in the hospital's burn unit. The person who threw the Molotov cocktail was never identified. Sarah Morrison's mother condemned the attack, saying no one deserved to die that way. David Brennan served his sentence and was released to a world that had forgotten his name. Carlos Rodriguez moved his family away and never drank again. The city rebuilt, but the scars remained invisible, reminders that some wounds never heal. They only spread